What happens when female African leaders or activists, experienced in diplomacy, governance, and activism, are faced with the probing and sometimes challenging questions of the media? Today, we look into those moments where the tables turn and these visionary women's school journalists fearlessly by taking control of the narrative with a deep understanding of the issues that matter. Watch as they turn the spotlight back, not just answering questions, but educating, challenging, and inspiring all at once. In this discussion, Fatima Mata, the First Lady of Sierra Leone, passionately advocates for a partnership approach to development, emphasizing that Sierra Leone deserves respect and recognition as a valuable partner rather than being treated as inferior. She reflects on the country's historical significance in education within sub-Saharan Africa and criticizes the current state of its educational system, which has deteriorated. Bio highlights her commitment to fighting gender-based violence through her Hands Off Our Girls campaign, initiated in 2018 to protect girls from rape and early marriage. This initiative aims to raise awareness, influence policy, and provide access to healthcare while empowering women to speak out against abuse. She expresses frustration over systemic corruption that hinders progress and calls for collective action to address these issues. Bio's campaign has led to significant legislative changes, including harsher penalties for sexual offenses and improved support for survivors, showcasing her determination to uplift Sierra Leone's women and girls and restore their dignity.
I am going around the world to see a country that sees Africa not as not just as an ally of what you'll be getting from us, but a country that sees Sierra Leone as partners and treat us with respect. You cannot be coming to our country and take everything that will make us develop, and then you still treat us as inferior people, as if we don't know what we're doing. I think that is wrong. You know, we're looking for partners that value us. People that will come to our country and say, you know what, this country has suffered enough, they need to grow. We were once the atom of Africa. Every country within sub-Saharan Africa used to come to Sierra Leone for our education. And today, what can we be proud of? We cannot talk about education in Sierra Leone because they've ruined that for us. Everything that has empowered Sierra Leone has been ruined. And now we have a leader who wants to fix everything. That is a problem. In Africa, you should not have a leader that is assertive, a leader that knows what his people want, a leader that wants to change what is happening. The moment you have that, it's everyone's target. And then they find reason to slow you down, they find reason to stop you, and they use that system of corruption. They use corrupt people, they use negative people, they use unpatriotic citizens to come after a government who is doing what is right for a system. I think we need to address those issues. Unfortunately, I don't know I'm very good at name calling, but at the moment, I don't know who I should be screaming at.
I think that's one of the consequences of a system gone wrong. That there's no single individual responsible.
No.
There's no single place to go for a solution. It is difficult to find a way forward. And I think we can return to some of those themes later on in our discussion. But I wanted to ask you, and this is in a very pragmatic way, your Hands Off Our Girls program. I wanted to ask you, who's addressed in Hands Off Our Girls? That instruction is given to who?
The Hands Off Our Girls is for everyone. When I say everyone, when I became the First Lady in 2018, the state of our country was disgraceful. It was disgusting. I mean, babies as young as 6 months were being raped by men. Yes. And that's the reality. So there was no one out there to actually say it as it is. There is no one out there to say, no, we've had enough. And every time there's this excuse to say, oh, it was because of the war. Our war had finished 20 years ago. We cannot live in a war mentality after 20 years.
Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. During an interview, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie faced a rather condescending question about whether people read her books in Nigeria. With a sharp wit, she responded, "They do shockingly," highlighting the absurdity of the question. When asked if there are bookstores in Nigeria, she affirmed their existence, but pointed out the underlying bias of such inquiries, comparing it to asking if people read in France. Adichie emphasized that her books are not only read, but are also part of educational curricula across Africa, reflecting her deep connection to her roots. She expressed gratitude for being read globally, but underscored the significance of being understood by the very people she writes about, noting that some of her stories have even inspired stage adaptations in Nigeria. This exchange illustrated her commitment to challenging stereotypes about African literature and culture while showcasing her pride in her Nigerian identity and readership.
Sensibility from having been raised in an Igbo culture that I think shapes the way I tell my stories.
Est-ce que vous... do people read your books in Nigeria?
They do, shockingly. They do.
Est-ce qu'il y a des librairies? Are there bookshops in Nigeria?
Je vois, mais c'est précisément parce que...
Yes, it's about it differently, and that is why I'm saying, are there bookshops? Of course, I imagine there are. But I could ask the question to the French. Do people read in France? I think less and less so.
You know, I think it reflects very poorly on French people that you have to ask me that question. I really do. Because, I mean, because I think surely, I mean, it's 2000, you know, I mean, come on. My books are read in Nigeria. They're studied in schools, actually not just Nigeria, across the continent of Africa. And it means a lot to me because obviously I'm very grateful to be read everywhere in the world, but there's something about being read by the people about whom you write. And some of my writing, there are people who sort of made stage plays of some of the stories in Nigeria.
Alma Adu. In her powerful speech, Alma Adu critiques the historical exploitation of Africa by the Western world, emphasizing that despite providing vast resources such as gold, diamonds, and timber, Africa has received little in return. She highlights the negative impacts of colonialism, including the introduction of diseases and a legacy of cultural indoctrination that has led to a distorted perception of African people. Adu expresses her anger over the enduring stereotypes that dehumanize Africans, referencing derogatory views held by some Western thinkers. She challenges the notion that these injustices are a thing of the past, questioning whether true change has occurred. Her remarks underscore a call for recognition of Africa's contributions and a demand for respect and equality in international relations, urging a departure from the historical narrative that has marginalized African voices.
Since we met you people 500 years ago, look at us. We've given everything. You are still taking. It's true. I mean, where will the whole Western world be without Africa? Our cocoa, our timber, our gold, our diamonds, our platinum, our whatever. Everything you are is us. I am not saying it, it's a fact. And in return for all of this, what have we got? Nothing. Anti-personnel indoctrination against ourselves. If you go and cook your horrible diseases like AIDS, you say it is us. You brought us tuberculosis. We didn't have this big cough until white people came here. In exchange for Africa giving Europe 500 solid years of our people, I mean not Europe, the Western world, of our human beings to work your canes, to dig your gold, to take in gold itself, diamond, I mean, you know, fish, peanuts, palm oil, everything. In exchange for that, we have got nothing. Nothing. And you know it. Nothing. And you look upon, you know, so white folks look upon us like monkeys. It is true. It's in your literature. Hey, you know, some of your best thinkers have said this about us. Have you heard of all these Germans? Have you heard? Yes. They said, Lord Burton, people like that, they said, we don't even have the brain of animals. That's what we got from you people.
But don't you think that this is over now?
Over where? Is it over? Who said that 8 came from the green monkey? Is it over?
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. In her speech, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf addresses the pervasive issue of corruption, firmly challenging accusations against her and her family while emphasizing the importance of integrity, competence, and talent in leadership. She acknowledges the vibrant society of Liberia, which is often plagued by rumors and innuendos, and asserts that she prioritizes merit in her appointments. Sirleaf discusses the ongoing review of land concession agreements to ensure that excess land is returned to communities, demonstrating her commitment to equitable resource management. She recognizes the historical context of leadership in Liberia, where accusations of corruption are common, yet she stands by her record and that of her family. Her remarks highlight the need for accountability and transparency in governance as essential steps toward national healing and progress.
I said to you, it's a problem. I challenge anyone who says it's with me or my family. I challenge that. We have a very vibrant society, a society that's full of rumors and innuendos, and one in which, you know, people are just accustomed to that. Now, I have to put in certain places where I get the best result based upon talent, based upon competence, based upon integrity. And that's what I do, and I stand the test. I stand the test in that regard and challenge anyone who says it. Now, there may be other motives there. We are accustomed to, in all of our societies, we're accustomed to accusations. We're accustomed to believing that once one is a leader, that leader, you know, doesn't have integrity. But I stand by my record, and I stand by the record of my family very firmly.
Joyce Banda. In this speech, Malawi's President Joyce Banda addressed the complexities of her leadership amid economic challenges and international pressure. She emphasized that Malawians are taking charge of their destiny, despite the influence of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, on the nation's economic policies. Banda pointed out that while the IMF sets conditions for loans, such as currency devaluation and market opening, it is ultimately the Malawians who should assess her performance. She acknowledged conducting surveys to gauge public opinion, revealing that rural citizens express faith in her leadership, while urban responses vary. Banda affirmed her daily awareness of the heavy responsibility she bears to revive the economy and stated that her decisions are made with careful consideration. She urged Malawians to support her efforts, recognizing their struggles but asserting that she is doing her best under difficult circumstances. This speech reflects her commitment to navigating the challenges posed by both domestic expectations and international financial demands. Let us know in the comment section what you think of Theses Female African Leaders. That wraps up the video for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, leave a thumbs up, and of course share the video. Until the next time, see you in the next video.
The Malawians are taking decisions about their own destiny. What has happened is that in order for our donors to come back, we needed IMF to give us the rate of comfort.
But who ultimately calls the shots, Madam President?
Malawi, of course.
Isn't it the IMF calling the shots? Isn't the country director saying, well, if you don't devalue your currency, you're not going to get the loans. If you don't make decisions about opening your markets, we're not going to give you the money.
I want you to tell me how economies under the IMF program have operated and have worked with the IMF. Tell me how they have done that. In order for you to be back on track, Don't you go on the conditions of the IMF? Haven't countries done that?
If you could give yourself a grade for 1 year in office, what would that grade be?
No, Malawians must give me that grade.
And what do you think they would give you?
No, I don't want to think. What I want you to know is that I want Malawians to look back and see where we were.
What do you think Malawians make of your leadership now?
Do we have fuel or not? No, I have I conduct my surveys all the time, so I don't know where, I know where they're placing me.
And where do they place you?
No. That is not something that
Where do they place you, madam? Give us a bit of insight into your research and the kind of feedback you are getting from Malawians a year on.
The feedback that I'm getting year on are different from urban to rural. The rural people have faith and love for me.
President Banda, do you wake up some mornings and still think about the weight of responsibility of being the president of the nation? Do you take personal responsibility for the outcomes of the policies and the decisions that you make?
Every single day, I have had to take bold decisions. They are not decisions I just took carelessly. And I hope you are not being chauvinistic. Because
in no way at all.
Okay, fine. I wake up very, very aware of the huge responsibility that I recover that economy. What I am seeing in Malawi, not from London office or BBC office, but in the country, in Malawi, is that a lot of people are saying, in the circumstances, she's doing the best that she can. And therefore, the rest of us Malawians must stand back up.